Good afternoon, students. This is lesson 5.4. In this lesson, we're going to learn how to write and graph linear equations using point-slope form. Go ahead and do the review, and I'll check back with you. All right, the key concept here is the point-slope form of a linear equation. In class tomorrow, I'll kind of show you where the point-slope form comes from, but it looks like this. You take y and subtract a y coordinate, and that's equal to the slope times x minus the x coordinate subtracted. So the x1, y1 represents any coordinate on the line of the graph, and the m represents the slope. So in problem 1 here, we know that the line passes through the point 1, -4, and has a slope of 3. If we use this formula, let's write down the actual formula here. All we need is an x coordinate and a y coordinate. Substitute those in, and we need the slope. So the x coordinate we have here is 1. The y coordinate we have here is -4. So let's put 1 where the x of 1 is. We're going to get x minus 1. And the slope is 3, so we're going to put that where the m is. And -4 is y sub 1, so we're going to put -4 there. Now that I'm going to put parentheses around because in the formula we have to subtract the y coordinate, so we have to subtract -4. I can now simplify that, and this is my equation in point-slope form. Go ahead and practice one like that. We can also graph using this point-slope form. Remember that in the point-slope form, we are given a coordinate and we're given the slope, and that's really all you need to make a graph. So I'm going to write down the general formula here. So the -2 is the slope, the m, and then we have an x coordinate. So from this information we get our y coordinate is the number that's being subtracted, and since it says y plus 3, that y coordinate would be -3. The x coordinate, the number we're subtracting from x here, is 2, and the slope is -2. So I'm going to write that as a coordinate -3, and the slope is -2. And I'm going to use that to make a graph. I'm going to pause so I can get a grid up for that. All right, so let's put the point 2, -3 on the graph, and that's right here. And we're going to use the slope of -2. Now remember, a slope can be written as a ratio of rise over run. So -2 for a rise, we could think of that as down 2. And 1, we can think of that as over 1 or right 1 for the run. So once we have this point, we can go down 2, right 1, and we get another point. We can do the same thing working backwards, and we get these points. And then we just need to draw a line through them. All right, go ahead and practice that. All right, if you have 2 points and you want to write an equation for a line, the point-slope form works pretty good for that also. So I'm just going to write that down again. And so all we need to do is figure out what the slope is and substitute that for m, and then use just 1 point for those 2 values, x and y values. So let's say, let's use the slope formula to find the slope here. So I'm going to take my y coordinates and subtract those for my rise, and then I'm going to take my x coordinates and subtract those for the run, and that's equal to 3/6, which is 1/2. Now I can substitute that for m. And then I just need to pick one of these 2 points to substitute for x sub 1 and y sub 1, and I'll just use this one here. So my y sub 1 is 4 and my x sub 1 is 4. So substituting those values in, I get y minus 4 is equal to 1/2 times quantity x minus 4. All right, you try that. All right, we're going to use the slope-intercept form for to write an equation for a situation here about Julio's earnings. I mean the point-slope form. The table shows the amount of time Julio works and his total wages. What equation? It says in slope-intercept form, but we are doing point-slope form, so we're going to use point-slope there. And then we're going to actually change it into slope-intercept so you can see how to do that. And then it asks a couple questions about that. What do the slope and y-intercept represent? So checking this out, we can see that Julio's wages are going up depending on the number of hours worked. So first of all, let's just find the slope, which represents how much he earns per hour. And you can get that by subtracting any two values to get your rise in the wages. So 210 minus 130. And then subtract the hours worked to get the hours there. And so that's 80 divided by 5, which is 16. In other words, he makes $16 per hour. And now we're going to use this formula, y minus y1 is equal to the slope times x minus x1 to come up with an equation. Slope is 16. And we can just pick any one of these points to use for the x sub 1 and y sub 1. So x minus 5, y minus 130. And then you could actually simplify that to make it a more simpler equation by putting it in slope-intercept form. And the way you would do that is to just use the distributive property here. And then just add 130 to both sides. And you get y equals 16x plus 50. All right, you try that. Recording. All right, that's it for this lesson. Go ahead and do the lesson check, and we'll talk about it next time we meet in class.